You're on holiday, you're relaxing, you're chilling, you're drinking your mojitos, you're laying on the beach, and then all of a sudden, property repair calls keep coming in. Maintenance calls, issues with the property keep coming in. This is what you need to do. Let me tell you. Keep watching and I'll tell you more details. There are probably two questions you need to ask yourself. Is it an emergency? Is it not an emergency? And this is from the perspective of a property manager, not from the perspective of a tenant. What a tenant will deem an emergency is not what a property manager will deem as an emergency. From a property manager's perspective, an emergency is, there's water leaking. It's, it's going to make damage to the property. It's going to harm the tenant. They're going to be in some sort of severe danger, a gas leak, or, probably the property's been broken into, or there's a fire. Those kind of things are an emergency, and there's going to be major damage to the property and the tenant is going to be harmed. Those things need immediate action. Other things that are not an emergency, like the fridge freezer is broken, it can probably wait a day or two. It's really annoying, obviously, for the tenant not to have a fridge or freezer, especially in the hot weather. But when it comes time to getting white goods fixed, sometimes it takes a while, especially to find an available tradesman to get there, or even if the white goods is under warranty, getting hold of the manufacturers, getting them to come out, that can still take a couple of days. So that is not necessarily an emergency. A bit of carpet is coming up on the corner, that's not an emergency. So literally, an emergency is kind of life or death or major damage to the property. Now, if there is an actual emergency that needs to be taken care of at the property, there are a few options I would consider in order to get the emergency resolved while you're actually away on holiday. First one is to look at your network. I say look at, contact people in your network. So people that contacts that you have, go on Facebook or LinkedIn. There's lots of communities on there that you may know or may not know. Contact people that other landlords, other property managers, estate agents in your area, and see if they have any specific tradesmen that will solve the issue that you're actually having at that time. Another option, number two, is to contact something like Check a Trade or MyBark or MyBuilder, and look on those websites and see if the specific trade that you're looking for is on there. And if they are on there, then you can perhaps get 2 or 3 quotes, depending on the emergency and if that specific tradesman is available. With those kind of platforms, there's so many tradesmen in there in your specific area that it should be a lot easier for you to be able to find the kind of tradesman that you're looking for. So their telephone number is on the website, or you can literally go direct to their website. Sometimes they put their mobile on there, their email address on there, their WhatsApp telephone number on there, so you can get direct access. And then when they're going to go to the property, you can then contact the tenant and sometimes put the two of them in connection to kind of take you out of the equation. That is also very helpful, so you can go direct to tradesmen yourself. And third option is for you to go onto Google or MSN, whatever kind of platform you use for searching, and to find the tradesman directly yourself, rather than going through the platform like the previous option, is to go onto Google in the specific area that you're based and look for the tradesman in your specific area. There's going to be so many tradesmen available in your area. Sometimes they have Google reviews, so you can see if they're a good tradesman. You can go on to other platforms that leave reviews as well, to just double check that the tradesman that you've decided to go with is actually a trustworthy tradesman, because obviously you're not going to be there to make sure everything works well. So you speak to the tradesman that you've chosen beforehand, you see if they that work out their method of payment and that kind of thing, and then again connect them with the tenant. If you can, depending on the level of emergency, maybe you may have time to get 1 or 2 quotes from different tradesmen. Otherwise, you may just have to choose one tradesman that you put your full trust in. Definitely go with your gut. Your gut does not lie to you. Sometimes if you get a dodgy feeling about something, or you're not comfortable with a specific tradesman that you're talking to on the phone, hang up and call another one, because there are so many to choose. And the last option 4, is to find a maintenance company. Now, a maintenance company would cover all bases regardless of what the issue is. Again, you can find a maintenance company going direct through Google, going to, you know, a tradesman platform, or you know, consulting your network. But a maintenance company has so many different tradesmen in it that if you find, you know, that one maintenance company while you're on holiday, then if another issue does come up, you can go straight back to that maintenance company and they can you know, enlist one of their tradesmen for you. So those are the few options that you can choose from, that if you have a major emergency, that you'll be able to solve while you're on holiday. Obviously, having a smartphone and a laptop are, you know, crucial when you go on holiday. Most people want to sit down and relax. You know, you're a property manager, you've been working very hard, you may be having a stressful year, you're just trying to relax and chill. But to be honest, a property manager's job is never done. You are always on. So make sure you have, you know, at least your mobile phone or at least a laptop when you're away, so you can check to make sure everything is good back home. Before you go on holiday, there are certain things you should have in your business anyway before you even decide to go anywhere. Yes, you're always maybe in a rush to get to where you need to get to go on holiday, to get the whole family out there, but before you go anywhere, there's certain things you should have in your business already. So firstly, I would say you should have processes and systems in your business. So if, you know, if A happens, what would step B? Have written instructions. I would call them standard operating procedures. So this is like literally a manual for your business. So for example, if you were on holiday and, you know, something does happen, you know, you could potentially, you know, call a friend or an associate or something, give them, you know, a specific instructions from your business and ask them if they, you know, could handle it for you. But hopefully, you know, you'll have that all sorted in your systems, because you would have had an emergency plan already in your standard operating procedures as to the steps to take. So, you know, standard operating procedures is definitely very important. The next option, number 2, is staff. So depending on the size of your business, you may be able to have employed staff or freelance staff to be able to work with you. Now, I'm a virtual assistant and I work with lots of property managers and estate agents, real estate agents who have obviously have businesses. And if you have an employed member of staff, obviously it's a little bit more expensive because you've got to pay for, you know, specific office space, depending on if they work from home or if they work within your office. You know, you've got to give them a specific amount of training. You know, you're paying for them literally for 8-9 hours of the day. Whereas obviously if you're having a virtual assistant, they're a little bit more cost effective. Sometimes virtual assistants know about, you know, the business already, so the training is very reduced. And if you have an online business manager, which I am also, they work at a little bit more of a director level. So they're able to take over a lot more from you than a specific virtual assistant. A basic virtual assistant will just take tasks and do what you say as you want it to be done, and they're just task orientated. Whereas an online business manager is a bit more reactive. They'll take on tasks that you personally as a business owner would do. They'll, you know, do a bit of negotiating for you. They'll be managing staff for you. They'll be probably helping implement marketing strategies for you. So depending on what level of staff you want, there are various different options. But obviously before you go on holiday, you know, ensure that your staff member, whether they are freelance or employed, are properly trained up in your business, have access to all the standard operating procedures, and, you know, updating it as and when is needed to ensure that your business is fully functional, so you can go off on holiday and enjoy yourself and not even have to worry too much about your business, because the staff you have trained up know everything there is to know about your business. Number 3, I would have tradesmen. As we know, this is specifically really important for this specific you know, discussion in the video. You need to have, you know, an array of tradesmen that obviously your staff member will know and will be in your standard operating procedures. Obviously tradesmen go on holiday as well, because it's always handy to have at least, you know, 2 specific tradesmen in a specific field. So, you know, 2 electricians, 2 carpenters, you know, a couple of handymen, a couple of plumbers. It's very rare to have to necessarily need a roofer or even specifically a gardener, but, you know, it's always handy to make sure you have, you know, all the tools that, you know, need to have in your business. So if you don't necessarily have any tradesmen at the moment, then you need to definitely be looking for a few tradesmen. You may not necessarily need to engage them right now, but having conversations with them, seeing what their terms and conditions are, finding out what their pricing is, you know, have all these in your arsenal ready to go just in case you need to, you know, enlist any of these people. Okay, number 4th is tenants. Now, some people won't necessarily want to do this, but I think it can help as well. Depending on if you're literally managing your business by yourself or if you have staff members, it could be wise to, and obviously as well, depending on how many properties you have as well, letting the tenants know that you will be away, and your office hours will be between this time and this time, and if there is an emergency, then they are to contact the specific number that you will give them, your WhatsApp number or your email address, or enlisting someone like Moneypenny that will handle all your phone calls. So all your calls you divert to a company like Moneypenny, and they will answer all your calls for you. So if you give that specific number to your tenants, then whenever they have an issue, the calls will always be answered, because you can literally get 24 hours call answering service like Moneypenny, and the tenants will always know that there's somebody available for them. Someone like Moneypenny or a call answering service, you don't have to have them all the time. You could just enlist them at a time when you're going on holiday, so that at least then if somebody does call, Moneypenny will answer the call for you, and they will email you or send you a text message of the person that called, and the reason why they called. So then when you're giving that information to your tenant, you know that the business is going to be taken care of, your tenant is going to be taken care of. And if you have a virtual assistant or a member of staff, then they can either answer that call on your behalf, or you can yourself answer the call, call the tenant back, depending on what that issue is. So just notifying your tenants, letting them know that you're going to be away, and the hours that you're going to be available to speak with them. And the last and not least thing will be the properties themselves. So depending on what kind of properties you're looking after, is it an Airbnb type business, is it a single let business, is it a commercial rent business, or is it a house of multiple occupation business? Depend on the type of properties that you were looking after, is obviously depending on the type of maintenance that those properties will need when you're away. So obviously if it's a serviced accommodation property, then managing the property remotely is probably something that you do anyway. So you'll have things like digital locks, you'll have things like mesh systems for your Wi-Fi, there's all different type of things that you'll have in the property before you decide to go on holiday. When it comes to a house of multiple occupation or a single let property, having things like cleaners in the property. A single let property may not necessarily be you may not need that, but there's definitely a service you can offer. But making sure that you have specific things in the properties where you can kind of keep an eye on what's going on. So having security cameras around the property, outside the property, so every once in a while you can check in, make sure the properties are being kept well, that the tenants inside are safe. And obviously if you have something like a cleaner, like I mentioned before, they can keep an eye on the property. They can look around, make sure the property is in good working order. They can tell you if something's broken before the tenants will, because sometimes that is what happens. And obviously depending on the nature of the property, some properties get a lot more wear and tear than others. For example, a house of multiple occupation will get a lot more wear and tear, so you may probably have a lot more maintenance issues than you would with a single let property. As well as a serviced accommodation property, because people are in and out literally depending on your style of management, every day, like a hotel, every other day you're getting a new family or a single person staying, so that could also have a lot of wear and tear, and you're having to maintain that. So making sure the property is in good condition before you go on holiday will ensure that there's less issues when you come back from holiday. Thank you. So as I said, in case you're not aware, I am Tanya. I'm a property virtual assistant and online business manager. I work with many people in the property industry who own their own businesses, real estate agents, letting agents, property managers, surveyors, mortgage brokers, and I help them within their business, assist them with their admin, either taking on tasks, specific single tasks or projects that they need to be work on, or helping them at a little bit more of a strategic level, helping them manage their staff, implement specific marketing strategies and those kind of things. So if you are thinking about getting some administration assistance for your business, then please send me an email, and we can have a conversation and see what I can do to help you. My email address is tanya@clearviewadministration.co.uk. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.